first of all, I would like to know from you, what is archaeological evidence? How we can define it? Like, what is your definition for that? And how we can, it's really, if there's nothing archaeologically approved, that mean is never happened or something like this, based on your research, based on your
So
knowledge.
archaeological, oh, you've got me going now. Archaeological evidence is evidence that has been excavated and we have a provenance and understanding to where it was found.
Okay.
Or it has been excavated with a non-provenance, but we have some idea and proof that it is a real object based on comparanda from stuff that does have provenance.
Okay.
So there's multiple levels to that. I wouldn't say there's necessarily a final answer because we do have material that appears that hasn't appeared in
Yet.
a license excavation,
Yeah.
I guess, or
Yeah.
has just been found and handed down in families for generation, and
We don't know what.
we don't know where it's come from. And so that doesn't mean it's fake. That just means that we don't necessarily have all the information we would have liked to have about that
And
piece.
maybe we will never have all the information, right? Because maybe there's
Oh,
something has been lost or something
yeah.
have not been written or whatever.
But in terms of in the academic sphere,
Hmm.
people want to work with provenance material because we have information about it.
Whatever we have.
But we can also work out if an object would likely be considered genuine based on looking at comparative material that we do know where it was found.
Hmm.
And so a lot of people don't like working with kind of unprovenance material, but it's like ignoring half of the stuff we have. So it's your choice, I guess, in the academic sphere if you're willing to work with it or not.
Hmm.
And but at the end of the day, if it can be compared to provenance material, it still counts as part of the archaeological record,
Okay. So,
and that will still be informative.
so the second question, okay, what if there is biblical story? Because you mentioned the Bible itself have some stories about that time. So what if there is a biblical story, but there's nothing in the tablets, nothing in the excavation that refer to it? What does that mean? We have something written, uh,
Yeah.
and there's nothing in
So
the.
we have the secondary material, but no primary evidence.
Here you
And
go.
there's plenty of examples for this.
Okay.
That doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but we can't say 100% proof and all sewn into a beautiful summary that it did.
Okay.
Because we also know what humans are like, and exaggeration takes place. And
That's.
oral tradition is a beautiful way of passing down knowledge.
Uh-huh.
But every single time someone tells a story,
They
we
add
know that
something.
the next single person will tell it slightly differently. And if
Exactly.
that is happening over thousands of years, it's no surprise that the original story might be completely different to the story that is currently being told.
That's
And
right.
that doesn't it's difficult because that in a way is not actually what happened, but that doesn't mean it's not a piece of history in its own right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that story that has been told is still important and it's still in the historical record, but that doesn't mean it's proof that an event occurred
Hmm.
because we don't have primary evidence that it did.
That did.
So in the academic world, we would only hypothesize about something like that. So we could create ideas and we can make theories that may well be proven to be true. But until we get to the point where we find something primary to back up the claim, it is only ever going to be a hypothesis.
That's true. That's true. So what if we find something tell us the exact opposite? Can we trust whoever wrote that tablet or not?
I guess it depends on the situation. It
Okay.
depends, I guess, what it's proving. If it's, I guess, a legal dispute,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
person gave me this. No, he
Okay.
didn't. They didn't give me this. How are we going to prove one is right and one is wrong?
It's
They could be
difficult,
both.
yeah, right. Yeah.
There could have been, I don't know, a third party in the middle. Like, let's say they were exchanging sheeps. You said you would give me 5 sheeps. I've only been given 2 sheeps. Where are my other 3 sheeps? I don't know, maybe someone stole the other sheep. There might be a third party. We're never going to necessarily know all the information that occurred. So
Yeah.
if we have something that proves something, I think it needs to be looked at on a as as it comes along. Like you can't really make a generalization on that. Case by case, you would have to make that decision based on the evidence that we did have. It gets complicated with the Bible, I
Mhm.
think, especially because people obviously want to believe that what is written is exactly what happened.
That's exactly, yeah.
And it's completely true and relevant, and there has been no alteration whatsoever. But there's alteration even from the original Hebrew to the English.
That's true.
And so even though there's always going to be some variation when you talk or in language, it's why there's synonyms. Synonyms are there. They mean slightly different things. And sometimes people use things they don't know what they mean because they think it sounds better. Like these are humans after all. They
Okay.
made mistakes just as we make mistakes.
That's true.
And so I completely understand why people would want to believe that it hasn't changed. And I also would like to believe that. I would love to feel that what we're hearing and listening to is completely unabridged and raw. But I also know just a general conversation with someone, just one to one, both of you can come away with completely different ideas. And so I think the Bible especially is a really, really difficult one.
Yes.
And there are people who spend their whole entire career and their academic life, their scholarly endeavor is to try and work out whether a particular piece of text is actually what happened or not. And all I can say is I think the Bible is invaluable. I think it has brought together so many different pieces that give us so much information.
Okay.
This is from a completely historical perspective here, obviously, that it is invaluable and I wouldn't want to trade it. Like it is so helpful. And it also teaches so much about social lives. It
At that
teaches
time, yeah.
understanding about culture. So that it's definitely not in any way unimportant in its form, but
Okay.
it's a long stretch to say that exactly what they wrote is exactly what happened,
I understand.
especially when they're talking about historical events. I would disagree when it comes to events during their time, because they obviously were there to witness this and understand what was going on. But
So
to
let's
talk
talk.
about that predated them, that's
Mhm.
hard.
So since we